back to another episode of the Young Black Suburban. I have two very special guests on today. One of the people I have on my show today came to my gym, my place of business, probably 4 or 5 months in. I don't know how long exactly, and we've been friends ever since. And he has brought his other half around, and she's been at the gym as well. We have Steve Weiss and Donna Luczysyn.
That's right. That's it. You got it.
I'm good for chopping names up too. I'll kill a name. So usually we have people on that will either get us likes because they're famous, or get a lot of views, or they have an interesting story. Today we have an interesting story, two interesting stories, and we're going to cover the topic of recovery from drug addiction. Steve, I've had you on my show before when I was on Fox Sports. I was going to say ESPN. Fox Sports, and we've already talked about this. We actually talk about it once a week, maybe, about recovery. That I have a lot of, not myself, but my family, a lot of recovering addicts in my family. So it has a big place in my heart to do things for the community and to just bring awareness. You guys both have your own stories, and you have been through some things, and we're all here, made it through, so we know that, addiction is not forever. It can be for some people, but other people do make it on the other side. What I want to start out with is just saying, Steve, where are you from?
Well, I grew up in the Northeast, around Nazareth Hospital area, and I live pretty close to there to this day. Not in the same spot, but maybe about a mile and a half from where I grew up when I was a kid.
Okay. And Donna, are you from?
I'm from Feltonville.
Now, for people that aren't familiar with Feltonville,
that's around like being the Boulevard, seeing the Boulevard, like a mile below where the Sears and Roebucks used to be on the Roosevelt Boulevard.
Okay, so that would that be close to Alany at all?
Yeah, it's
pretty
similar.
Close.
Yeah,
Okay, cool. So how was it, growing up? I'm gonna say in Northeast Philly, North Philly. Steve, we'll start with you. How was it growing up there?
It was, my father, we moved from New York, but I was very young when we came to Philly. It was probably around 1964, 63, 64. Really nice neighborhood, a lot of duplexes. I lived in an apartment building, with my mother and father and two brothers. So, Longwood Manor Apartments, and it was a tight-knit neighborhood. A lot of friends. Went to Farrell School, which was probably around 3.5 blocks from where I lived. That was my elementary school. And then I went to Woodrow Wilson Junior High, and then Northeast High School.
Northeast High, right on Coppin Ave.
Yep.
Right, nice. How about you, Donna?
Well, we originally lived in Germantown, but I was, a child, a baby when we moved. So we moved to, like I said, Feltonville. We had, in Germantown though, they had a 2-bedroom house with 5 kids. So, it was 5 kids in 1 bedroom, actually 4, and then I slept with my mom and dad, right? So, we were very poor, we didn't have very much. My dad was a compulsive gambler, he really didn't work much, that was his addiction.
Yeah.
And my mom was mentally ill. So, my grandmother moved with us, and she helped buy a house in Northeast Philadelphia. And I gotta say that I had a really good childhood outside the home, right? Not very much in the home, but the area was nice, from what I don't remember the neighborhood, that my brothers and sisters grew up in.
Right.
But, we had a neighborhood pool, we had a rec, we had a playground, we had dance, we had tap, I had girlfriends right next to me. And at that time, we all played in the street. We played spring, we played freeze tag, we played dance tag, your mom yelled for you out the back window. Right. And then you came home. Right. You didn't sit in the house and play videos. At that time we didn't have videos.
It's funny that you say that, because my next question was going to be, do you see a difference between the neighborhoods that you grew up back when you were growing up, obviously, till today?
The neighborhood itself that I was in, or
Yeah.
the neighborhood I'm in now?
Well, just pretty close in area. I mean, Philadelphia, period. Do you,
Well, I was just saying to somebody that I've never, my daughter, as a matter of fact, I've never really paid attention or witnessed the crime on the street like it is today. We were bringing up the teens that beat the guy with the cone to
right?
death the other day. I just saw it on the news. She said, Mom, that's because there weren't video cameras all over.
Right.
There's been crime all over. We've just never seen it like we have now.
Mm-hmm.
But even growing up in grade school, I don't remember this kind of violence on the
Right.
street. There was violence, but not like this. And I do remember them saying in grade school, at times, if you go through the park, have a buddy, don't walk, because there were predators in the park at
Right.
some time. But I never remember it being like this,
Yeah.
where, especially since we've just had 2 shootings around the corner from us.
Mhm.
Because you always feel safe. Well, I do anywhere where I live,
Yeah, yeah.
because we haven't had any real danger. But now it's like right around the corner from our home.
Right.
So,
You feel the same way?
I've definitely seen the change. With the violence. We're close to Mayfair. We're close to Longcrest. Different neighborhoods,
Mhm.
and in the neighborhood that we're in now. Right, we're at Welsh and Boulevard. Things have changed. I mean, I love where I live.
Right.
Great neighbors, good people, but you have to be aware of your surroundings, and even when you think you're aware, you just don't know.
Right.
So yeah, things have changed.
Yeah, yeah. And with children, as well, like we were saying, you used to get called into the house, by your parents and stuff.
at the back door.
But now we're calling our kids because they're just in the living room, playing on their video games. It's kind of weird because we still have, the climate out there, like as far as like things are not good. Even if you're being raised inside your house, somehow kids get involved with the wrong things still. Do you guys remember when that started happening for you? You started going, and I know Steve. He's told me his story before. I don't know your story.
You mean going in the wrong directions with drugs and alcohol?
Yeah.
Well, I think I was in like 7th grade, and my friends were smoking pot, and I smoked pot.
That was the gateway?
Yeah, I never even liked it.
Really?
I hated it.
Yeah.
I didn't like it at all. And then, we started smoking angel dust, right? And that was like, and if you think about it, what are you, like 11, 12, 13? And the funny thing is I had addiction.
You were 12?
Probably 12 or 13 in 7th grade.
Wow.
But I came from a family who already had addiction in it.
Right.
Like, my dad was a gambler, my mom was mentally ill, and my oldest brother, was shooting dope in Germantown, and then my sister had trouble too, and so I saw it.
Right.
So you never think like you're going to do it, But then someone talked about this the other day where their older brother gave them drugs, and I do remember my older brother giving me cocaine one day, and I was young, probably so I didn't tell mom or dad what we were doing,
Mm-hmm.
and I never thought about that. And then my sister, she would say, if you want to get high at home with me. So we would smoke pot, we would do lines of meth.
At the age of 13.
Probably not meth at 13, but
Right.
probably like 15 or 16. Yeah, that was a really like to think about that today.
Mhm.
But growing up in that and knowing better, and then you do it anyway.
Right. Well, at a certain point, it becomes a habit. It's something that part of your life too. You grew up in it. I grew up in it. My family, both my parents, did it, but I went the opposite way. I saw them doing some crazy stuff, and I'm like, nah, I'm not. So it probably works. For some families, some people are attracted to it, some people aren't. I went the opposite way. Steve, you remember your first experiences
Yeah.
with drugs?
Yeah, and the crazy thing was, I remember back in elementary school, they had a poster on the wall that said, "This is a drug addict," and it was a guy with a leather jacket on, and he had burnt fingers, and he had red eyes, and a runny nose, and track marks, and this and that. And I remember looking at that picture, you know, and said, I'll never be like that. I'll never do any of that. And I really had no intention of it at that point. There was like a hangout in Bell's Corner. A lot of guys used to hang out. They were the bad kids, and you know, they would get quarts of beer. And I wasn't really into drinking. I never liked the taste of it. At that point. And one night we were out, and I was hanging out with those guys, and someone said, "Hey, I bet you I can get you high." I said, "No, you can't." And I said, you know, it was back and forth, and finally, you know, I went over to the person's house. I was like 14 years old, and smoking hash out of a pipe. I don't know how many hits I took out of a pipe, but eventually I started to feel different. I said, "Whoa!" I got a little bit scared, you know, the way I was feeling. And I remember I was like running home. I was 14. I'm running, and then I started to get hungry. And I remember someone said, "Well, when you smoke this stuff, you're probably going to want to eat." So I went and got. There was a place called Jerry's Cheesesteaks, which is not there no more, right near Farrell School. And I ordered a cheesesteak, and it tasted really good. And then I went home, and then like really, I guess addiction, it made me feel different, and then I had to try it again. And it wasn't long before it was just smoking that I got addicted to. Nothing more, nothing less. It was the marijuana, the hash, and I really enjoyed it.
And didn't you feel like it stopped you from being productive right away, or were you still going to school? Still, you know.
As far as school, I wasn't a good student. I never applied myself. You know, my father didn't have a great bedside manner because I wasn't like him. You know, he was a straight-laced guy, went to college and all that, and I wasn't a guy to read. And he would let me know about it, and not in a nice way. And so I guess I rebelled, as a lot of young teenagers do. But you know, I'm a young man at that time, and it's funny, we were just talking. You know, when you're young, you know everything. He could tell you the right way to do it, and it's like, yeah, I know. Yeah. And then it was like I resented my father because, you know, just the way I was talked to. So I probably would have been great in school had I took a different approach and I applied myself. But unfortunately, I didn't. I graduated, you know, nevertheless. But as far as being productive, I always worked. I always worked. I wasn't like that every day. I'm not going to do anything. I had to fend for myself, basically. So,
And Donna, how about you? I hear that you have a great job. People brag about you all the time.
I really know. I didn't cross the line. I didn't use with my pregnancies, right? I really didn't cross the line because I lived in a very abusive relationship with another, you know, the father of my children, who was an addict, and so he really didn't work. All he did was get high. So I was stealing diapers, stealing food, and when we would get a script, we would split it, and I would sell mine, you know, for diapers and food and formula. So I wasn't using mine because it was the way to, you know, feed my kids, right? So it was so crazy. And then I was pregnant with 2, and he was very abusive, and I got pregnant with the 3rd. And I said, man, I'm never gonna make it out here alive. Like getting out the door with 1 kid and 2 kids, I'm never gonna make it out, you know? And the last time he hit me, he split my head open, and I was bleeding, and he knocked my teeth out, and I'm like, you won't make it out alive, or your kids won't make it out alive. So I got the courage to leave, and it wasn't until after I left and we separated, but we were in addiction, like with each other, codependent, right? I can't live without him, he can't live without me. So we kept on getting back together. You know how you have sex, get back together, break up, have sex, get back to you know. And he got hurt and was doing heroin. So I was, me being who I am, well, I'm not taking you to Kensington Avenue unless you give me some, right? And he was like, please, I can't give you any. You're the parent of my children. Like, they need one good parent.
Right.
And I'm like, no. You want to ride, you need some money, you're going to give me some. So that was my introduction. And then after that, and I got to say, he begged me not to do it, but I did it. And so after that, that was like my big downfall into crossing the line. It was very difficult. And then I picked up crack cocaine, which is like terrible. They're both terrible.
Yeah.
And the lie is that I would tell myself, you know, you can't smoke crack because crack takes everything at that moment, right? But I stayed out longer on the dope because you could do a shot or a snort or whatever and be okay for the day or the next day. But that crack was like 24/7, like a mouse going in circles.
Yeah.
So I stayed out a lot longer, telling myself that lie,
Right.
you know, until there was no more lying to myself till the last time of what happened.
So you kind of reached your rock bottom at a point, and that made you realize that, you know, this isn't the way to go.
Well, what happened was both my parents were gone. My sister passed away, and all the people that enabled me and helped me were gone, and it was just me. Until I was 50 years old, and I had DUIs. I wound up in jail. Never in jail before, and nobody would take me. My kids wouldn't let me come live with them. My friends wouldn't let me come live there, and I had to go to a recovery house. And so I'm in the detox, and they're, you know, I'm on Ativan or something like that. I think Xanax, and for my anxiety. And I'm telling the doctor, like, I can't take any of this in the recovery house. And they're like, well, you got to come to the window, the medication window, and tell us. I said, if I come to that window, I'm taking that medication.
Right.
So I'm yelling, I'm not coming for the medication.
Right.
And it was at that moment that I knew, you know, that I wasn't going to use, like at that time.
Right.
I also wound up on a psych med prior to that detox that put me in a full manic episode. So my face was distorted and I was manic, meaning my body was flailing. Like, did you ever see Linda Blair on the bed? You never saw, what's that movie?
The Exorcist.
You never
Oh,
saw
The
that?
Exorcist,
So you ever see her in the bed where, well, my
Listen.
body was like that.
Right.
And then I got catatonic.
Right.
So I was in restraints for 4 days before they could restrain me.
Wow.
And so I remember going at the psychiatric hospital, you know, because there was nothing left up here. Like, my brain reset from the meds, you know, it was blank.
Right.
I said, if I ever can, like, say 1 and 1 is 2 or read a sentence, I'm not going to use anymore.
Right.
And that was my rock bottom.
It's crazy because I've heard that many times that people have like a reset. I think, Steve, you told me that, you know, it took you a while to come back once you started not to use because your mind just doesn't work the same.
It doesn't.
Can you tell me your experience?
Well, my experience, yeah. You know, well, I told you my gateway when I was 14.
Yeah.
And I always worked, and it wasn't, the marijuana didn't destroy me as I thought it did. You know, but if I look back, it probably stunted my growth in all different aspects. But the only thing I had that was instilled, but you know, with my father and my grandparents, was to work hard. And work hard I did. And I did that all the way up until I was, you know, 49, when I got, you know, hurt at work. And then the opiates really came in. There were other drugs up till that point. But, you know, weekend, it was like the weekend warrior and all the craziness, which I thought was normal.
Right.
But now here I am, I'm not working anymore. I'm on workman's comp. I needed surgeries. I'm getting my drugs from the doctors. You know, it's like, it's so easy. I like the feeling that the opiates were giving me. You know, it was taking away, I was in pain at that time. And I don't know when the pain left, honestly, because it was more or less the drugs took over. And, you know, everyone I was involved with was in the opiate world. So even friends that I've had from years there, everyone's doing it. The girlfriends, even the ex-wife. Everyone was doing something, so it was so easy for me. And then it was an everyday thing. I'm not working. I'm not going to the gym no more. It was the television and chopping up pills and chewing up fentanyl patches, and basically a lifelong of. I used to keep myself in pretty good shape when I was younger.
Right.
You know, thanks to you, I got myself about as good as I can get in shape for a 66-year-old man.
You do all the work, though.
Yeah, but you know, it gave me an outlet.
Right.
So I appreciate that.
Do you remember how many years? Do you have an estimated time from when you felt like you started until when you started your recovery? How many years do you think you were in that state?
Well, you know, on the 18th of this month, I'll have 6 years clean.
And I've known you for 4, though.
Right.
Pretty much, yeah.
So, I mean, when you met me, you know, I still had issues, but, you know, it was a slow process. And that was, when I met you, it was like almost 2 years into my recovery.
Right.
But those first 2 years, it was like taking baby steps, you know, and the people in, you know, in the 12-step program I'm involved in, you know, helped me along the way, you know, from coming, you know, because I was in a world of depression.
Yeah.
And I was never a depressed individual, but where it took me at the end, when, like Donna said, I couldn't read, I couldn't have a conversation, I couldn't start the car, I couldn't figure out how to turn on the washer, the dryer.
Right.
Everything was like, everything that we take for granted that you don't think about, I couldn't do.
Now, when you were in your addiction, were you able to wash your clothes and you know, was it only after you started recovery that your brain started to change?
Well, what I noticed, you know, it was a 9-year run for me from like when I was 50 to 59, and I was able to function. You know, the girlfriend or the ex-wife, and they'd come over, they would do my wash or whatever. I could still do it if I had to, but they would do it. You know, they'll cook and all, and so on and so forth. But like, I would say the last 6-7 months of me using, I started to notice changes. I never saw myself like shrinking, you know, the muscle atrophy, the brain atrophy. But like the last time I saw my father was in March of, I guess, 2016. And that last visit, you know, I was really, in, you know, fentanyl every day. And that stuff is dropping people like flies to this day. But I had such a resistance, and I noticed, like, when I would walk, I was shuffling, like just shuffling.
Not picking your feet up.
Not picking my feet up. I couldn't, because there was no. I know why now. You know, I had no muscle in my legs, my arms. I saw my ribs, and it was an effort for me to hold just like a bag of food from the supermarket, and just everything that, like, man, I used to walk. You know, I used to be a mover. You know, 20-something years ago, walk up a 300-pound, you know, armoires up 4 flights of steps. I couldn't do any of that. Yeah, it was. I was down to ground zero, and what happened to the muscle part was happening to my mind part. And it was all happening at the end. So I was slowly fading away, being forgetful. You know, just doing crazy stuff that wasn't normal. Like if you ever saw someone on a bus screaming or standing out in the street talking to himself, well, I became that guy.
Do you think you can recognize that when you see other people doing it? Do you say, "Oh, well,
100%.
must be drugs"?
100%.
Because when I look at someone like that, and I guess it is mental as well, but I think, well, that guy has mental issues. You know, I don't necessarily think of drugs being the issue.
Well, I mean, a lot of times it is, but you know, some people do have mental issues.
Yeah.
And drugs will give you mental issues.
But you can look at a guy on Kensington Ave and be
Well,
like,
pretty.
well,
If they're on Kensington
Yeah,
Avenue,
then
most
there's like
likely
that,
they're in their addiction. And Kensington Avenue today is it's like you'd see a horror movie.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable. If you ever take a ride down there, and you look, just keep going. But I'll tell you what, you're going to see sights that you just it's heartbreaking to see. Women who were once good looking and guys that were once functionable that don't function anymore. So I understand, and they're caught up in the grip.
Yeah.
Do you see the way he's standing? You could go down Kensington Avenue and watch somebody stand like that, and then like melt in the ground, and then they come back up, and they melt in the ground, and they come back
You
up.
think they're doing Tai Chi, but
You just, it's unimaginable what the tranquilizer does to people.
So if you're watching, you can't see Jordan, the producer. He's stretching.
Oh, I'm sorry.
behind the camera.
Sorry about that.
But I get exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
A lot of people are doing things that just aren't normal activity.
Well, I saw somebody yesterday. He was doing exactly what you're saying. I looked at him. He's screaming, he's yelling, he's fighting with this person that's not in front of him. And then he walks into the Giant, gets a soda, walks up and pays for it, the self-checkout, and walks out.
Like nothing.
Yeah. I'm like, so he had the wherewithal to walk in, but as soon as he came out, he was doing this and yelling at and it's like, it has to be mental illness and maybe drugs, because there are a lot of people in Center City, elderly people, that are not on drugs, that are just mentally ill, that walking around doing that. And that's also scary. That's really like, you don't feel comfortable going into work. And by the way, you said I have a good job. I do have a good job.
That's what I heard.
You know what? By the grace of God, I kept that job. All throughout my career, I've been there like maybe 20 years, maybe 21 years, and people liked me. I was likable, and I always was usually honest. I always had good supervisors who tried to mentor me and help me. Well, I had some that weren't, but I just had a likable personality and would ask for help. And they looked out for me. You know what I mean? And I was on maintenance at sometimes, on methadone while I worked as well. And that kind of kept my focus and allowed me to go to work to function. I wasn't on 300 milligrams where they put you today. I was on 10 milligrams. I had a prescription so that I didn't, go down the way, and it took the edge off, and I was able to work, for some time. And that allowed me, like I said, to feed my kids, not use, and so really helped me at that point, even though some people think that maintenance is a terrible way to go.
Right.
But what I have to say about that is, have a kid and have them die and be in the ground, or have your kid be functioning somewhat and alive and be on Suboxone or maintenance. That's just my perspective for me. Other people don't feel that way, but I feel that way. Now, why I didn't use it successfully, because I start using more after that. I had that breakdown at work. They literally, this is when I was on that psych med, I was at the window telling them I want to jump out the window, and they moved my desk away from the window, and they sat me next to my supervisor. They, while I was in the hospital getting treatment, they moved all my stuff, my pictures, and I came back to work, and I said, well, what do you expect from me? And they were so good to me, just get better. Just get better, just get better, that I would work and do what I could. And then because they really helped me, I was able to be the best that I am today as a supervisor. I'm a supervisor today.
Nice support system.
And people, I have a friend today, she says, I don't know how you did it. And somehow, because it didn't get as bad till the last, to the end. Like I had said. And it has taken me 26 years. You've asked 26 years to get 6 years. Yeah.
Nice. Congratulations.
26 years.
Both 6 years.
Yeah, I'll have it August 6th.
Right. Whose birthday comes first? You.
But the funny part is, here's the funny part though. I did go in the hospital on July 20th.
Okay.
Right. But I didn't count my time till after, because I had still taken that last, medication till I got out. So I started, right out. Otherwise, we would be almost exactly the same.
You mentioned earlier that you had to reset your brain and everything. Do you remember the day where you were like, "Wow, I'm going to do this. Like, I can actually overcome what's going on"?
I remember bits of being in Frankfurt Hospital and being, what do you call that when you're tied to the bed? Restrained. I'm in restraints, trying to get up to go to the bathroom, and I couldn't because I was strapped down, and my mind was going a million miles a minute because of the psych med, and probably the other meds too that I was on, the other drugs, and I don't remember all that part, but I do remember when they put me in Episcopal Hospital. When you're in a rehab and you're in a psych ward, you don't have nothing to do but walk up and down the halls, and watch TV, and the doctor will come in and talk to me. And I had a really good psychiatrist who found 2 medications for me that really worked for me. And at that point, I was like, if I could ever think again or talk again. And I remember I was in the therapeutic room and I was doing seek and find. Somebody would send me recovery seek and finds, like with powerlessness, surrender, all kinds. And he said, "Oh, look at you. Look at you."
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, it's working. I didn't even know my brain was working.
Right.
It was so hard. And when he said that, I'm like, yeah, as long as you don't pick up. And at that time, after I was released, I was taking the train, the L back and forth to work, and you're on Kensington Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
So I would read the Just for Today from the basic text, Just for Today. I can't reiterate it, but say it so they know what I'm talking about.
Well,
Just for Today, I would tell myself my thoughts.
Yeah, I remember reading a story of a guy and his son, and the guy was a recovering addict, and his son was always worried about him using again, and he asked his dad, "Are you going to use again?" And he told his son, "I don't know if I'm not ever going to use again, but I'm not going to use today."
True. True.
And I think that's kind of where you were going towards. I'm not sure, but he said it helped him in his life because he was going to quit his job, and his dad told him, "Just don't quit for one more day." And it ended up turning out for him, starting his own business and making it because he just didn't quit that one day and tried it another day and another day.
Yeah, a lot of people say I'll use tomorrow. I do that. There's not with drugs, but with food. I can eat it tomorrow if I want it. You don't have to eat that whole pizza today. You can save some for tomorrow. You have to talk yourself into the solution of recovery.
Right.
Even with the food, as we were talking about.
Right. Because that's something that I always think about too. I'm like, I can't even stop eating steak if I wanted to. So to actually have a substance that you have to stop from, that has to be a hell of a feat. I always look at someone who has 6 months clean, a year clean, a year and a half. It's such an amazing thing that you can actually restrain yourself from, doing something so powerful. I guess you would think as the days go on, you start to get easier and easier, or does it not? Is it still hard?
Well,
is that a hard question to answer?
It's just complicated because I don't have the desire to use anymore. I don't have any cravings. I don't have any of that desire to mess my life up at all. I have such a blessed life today, where I know putting a chemical in my body would just totally destroy it. In that sense, it's easier because you're not fiending for the drug and you see the beauty and the blessings and the gratitude that you have in your life. But on the other hand, there's other manifestations like we just talked about. The food.
Yeah.
A lot of people go to sex. A lot of people go to shopping. A lot of people fill that void with so many other things.
Right.
So, once you put down the drug, you have to fill it up with other things.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it's it's harder because you now have to apply that to all areas in your life, unless you become unmanageable. There's a lot of people that are unmanageable with other areas, and mine is food at the moment.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
But you guys do a lot of other things to keep yourself healthy and you know to these are it's not even have anything to do with substance abuse. It's things that all human beings should be doing.
Agreed.
But what are some of the things that you do, Steve, that helps you take care of yourself?
Well, I
Besides
had,
coming to the gym.
well, yeah, and it was part of like my brother told me you have to reinvent yourself, and I had to start doing something different. And we're not going to talk about the gym because we've talked about it.
No, you can talk about it because
I mean, but that was one. Another thing was, riding motorcycles again. That's something I haven't done since 1988.
Right.
And I had a bike back then, and then I sold it, for whatever reason. And then I bought one in 2017, and I started riding, with a bunch of guys, good people, different friends. Had to get away from the old people, places, and things that they said. So that was another outlet. People in the 12-step program that I'm with, one of them likes to ski. So let's go skiing. I said, okay. I used to ski. I was never, a great skier, but I was able to ski. And so I tried it again and I enjoyed it. So, it's like different outlets, different hobbies. You have to find out hobbies.
Still trying to get you to go bowling with me, but
and I bowled. I'm terrible at it, but that's another outlet. That's another thing to do. And then I met when I met Donna in early recovery, and little by little we started hanging out more and more, and we started doing things together. So one of my presents, and I don't know if it was a birthday present, I'm really bad at remembering.
Valentine's Day.
One of them was a flying lesson.
Okay.
So I never got behind.
And you did it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think I remember that.
Yeah.
Love was in the air.
Yeah, so we, she got in the back of the plane.
Yeah.
I said, she's just as nuts as me. And, I flew the plane maybe for a couple minutes.
Right.
But nevertheless, that was my first time there. I'd like to do it again. Another one was going to the Pocono 500 and getting strapped in a NASCAR with a professional driver.
That was a birthday present.
That was okay. Well, she'll have all the memory. That's why women are the best for me to remember. Because I am not that guy.
Do you?
So that was another thing.
Look at yourself as like a thrill seeker.
To an extent. I mean, now it's within my reasoning. I don't want to jump out of an airplane.
Right.
When someone else may, I don't want to climb up the face of a rock where there's other people who will do that, or jump, or base jump.
Right.
It's not me, but
so you have your limits.
Yeah, I have my limits, but nevertheless, it's a thrill for me. And one of the things that was a thrill was zip lining. We went to the Poconos with a bunch of friends in recovery, and I tried that out, and it was a little bit scary. But I did it nevertheless.
Right.
And I enjoyed it.
Yeah, definitely.
But there's extremes of that too. You can go to another country and be up on top of a mountain, and, a mile into a cavern. I don't know. It's.
Well, that's where I was trying to pick your brain and see, how extreme you are.
Yeah, I mean, but nevertheless, or even getting into the boxing ring.
Yeah.
And checking that out. That was a little.
I think it was his first or second day we sparred each other. And that's when I knew he was nuts.
That was scary when he did the fight.
Or the exhibition.
When he did the expedition.
And I shouldn't have been in there, but nevertheless, I said, why not?
That's almost like running with the bulls, I guess.
Yeah,
you're there in front of the crowd.
And you're going to get hit with the horns. That's for sure, with no experience. That's for sure.
And his whole home group came to support and watch.
Right.
And Steve is really a miracle, right? But first of all, when I met Steve, not to take the conversation, but when I met Steve, I was in a recovery house, and Steve just wanted to be friends with people and part of it. He said, I got my own house and my own car, and I said, I don't care what you have, because I have nothing.
Right.
Like, I'm in a recovery house at 50 years old. Like, this is about me trying to stay clean,
Right.
you know? And but what happened is we became really good friends, you know? And I watched Steve, like, get his mind back, right? Little by little. And it was so exciting, like, to be in the front row to watch somebody who was so beat up, right? Like I was, who we can't even clean, cook, make a meal, go to the supermarket. He didn't want to go to stores in the beginning because you felt uncomfortable. You know, I can remember getting out and trying to food shop. It was like horrendous because you don't know how to do anything.
Yeah.
But, you know, we would go to meetings, he would pick me up, we would hang out, we would go down the shore. And it was just like, not a lot of thinking, but one day he gets in the car and he starts talking about stocks. And I'm like, wow, his mind's starting to work. It was like so exciting. It might not be exciting to anybody else, but it was exciting to see that he was coming, the thought process was coming too.
That's what was
you
happening.
know?
You know, just like I'm thinking of other things and just being trapped in my own mind.
To me, I relate everything to boxing. You know, it sounds like you watched him when he came into the gym his first day to where he won a championship. You know, that's what it sounded like coming out of your mouth.
It's also amazing to see that he jumps out of bed and does 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, outside, inside, like wherever he is, he works out. And believe it or not, like I joined the gym with my daughter a few years ago. She said all she wanted was for me to join the gym with her for Christmas. I'm like, I don't want to go, but like if that's what you want. And we were building our relationship, my daughter and myself, you know, and we got close through that because she got clean, I got clean, she got clean. Then she left before COVID. And then I got in during COVID, I, you know, stayed with Steve. And then he was like working out every day. So what else did I have to do? I got in shape, you know, and like that's one of the things that we have in common. We talk about what we eat, you know, how we overeat, how we work out. And like when you see someone our age trying to get in the best shape of our lives, you know, it's amazing that we beat ourselves up with the drugs all those years. And now you can really recover mentally and physically.
Right.
You know,
mind, body, and soul. You guys got to do it all.
Yeah.
Did you mention that you had a daughter that is also in recovery? Or is that
I do. I have a daughter who, you know, is in recovery, and we started a podcast called How I Met My Mother Sober. And the thing on that is that I got sober, and then she got sober. And so when she would come to meetings and she would hear, you know, that I'm loving and I'm caring, that, you know, all these great things about me, she'd say, do they know who my mother is? Like, this is the woman that mother effed me all over the place, that sent me to school without any food, that chose men over me, that, you know, didn't provide any stable home for me. You know, do they really know who she is? And I would say, well, they know who I am, but they love me regardless. Right? Because that's what happens when you're in the program. Like you start to change and you start to care about people, not be so selfish and self-centered.
Definitely.
You know? So, yeah, it's funny because I'm saying to her the same things today that my father said to me, and it's so uncomfortable. Because my dad would say, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, this is going to happen. If you don't do X, Y, and Z, this is going to happen. And I'd be like, but I got to make my own mistakes.
Right.
And it's so painful, you know, and I'm told I don't have a crystal ball, so hopefully I'm wrong, you know. But it's definitely can be, what's the word, codependent, like we said, because when she was using and I was using, so like she would need some medication and I would give her some, you know, Ativan. And then I was like, I never wanted that for myself. Who would think you would want to give your kid Ativan? And then she would tell me that, oh yeah, I was manipulating. I'm like, I didn't even know she was manipulating. But I was just really thinking she really needed it. And she's like, well, of course I needed it. Yeah, but you know, thank God we're not in that today. Like today, well, we work out, you know what I mean? We have the podcast and we talk about our food. She don't like to hear about my food all day long. She's like, if you tell me what you ate one more time, tell it to Steve. Don't tell it to me. You know?
How many years clean does she have?
She's coming up on 6 as well.
6. Wow.
So I just wanted to add, a friend of mine, and I was talking about him earlier to you. He's celebrating 40 years clean today. And when I came into the program almost 6 years ago, he helped me, find a place to go. And
I'll say, Gary, he doesn't look like he's 40 years sober as far as his age. He doesn't look like he has a life before 40 years.
Well,
I'm thinking he's been recovered longer than I've been born.
Right.
But he looks good. He looks young.
Yeah, I mean, he had a rough teenage years, maybe into his early 20s, but and that's a story for him to tell.
Right.
It's not for me to tell his story.
Right.
But the fact is that it's like a changed person that became a family man, a productive member of society, doing the right thing, doing it the right way. But when he saw me, and he knows me from the 60s, he didn't know if he was going to ever have his friend back. And here I am, he's helping me go to meetings. And he said to me one day, he said, Steve, he said, I really didn't know if I was going to get, that old Steve back.
Right.
And I didn't know it either. I just kept doing what they told me to do, was keep coming back, keep going to the meetings, hanging out with the people in recovery, which is what I did. And like I said, it was a slow process with everything.
Right.
And all I wanted to do was get my mind back.
Right.
It wasn't really anything else but that. It wasn't worth being on this planet when you can't think and enjoy and comprehend. That was my take. But I saw, little baby steps. So that was the hope.
Right.
And other people, like Donna was telling you about me, what she saw in me, so did the other people in the rooms that I made friends with. He would always say, make meetings, make friends.
Right.
And people made friends with me. I made friends with everybody. And not only did they see it in me, I see it in other people. People who came in just as beat up, who stuck around, who wanted to find a different way of life.
Right.
That old way, which didn't work.
Right.
I don't think there are any successful using, because I've tried it every which way.
Yeah,
Everyone's tried it every which way. But when you're an addict, it'll destroy your life, destroy other people's lives. So that's the good news. That's the hope, that if you do what you're supposed to do, and like everyone else in the past who has stayed clean. Not that we're all fallible, anybody could go back, and like in a week, if I put that first one in me, in a week I could be right back where I was, or in the grave.
Exactly.
Or in a mental institution.
And Donna, earlier you said that maintenance is frowned upon by some people and all that. I know I've heard that there's a lot of different teachings here, different sayings here. Certain things are acceptable to certain people, certain things aren't. What would you say to somebody who is thinking about going to recovery, but political things like that are stopping them from going in?
I remember sitting in the detox and rehab and telling the counselor that it's not the NA way. Like, maintenance is not the NA way. That's not like they're a program, and he said to me, like, sometimes there's not a right way or the wrong way. It's really individualized. I would say that never give up hope, to try to do it without maintenance. But at that time in my life, I was just getting a divorce. My mental illness was rampant. I wasn't able to stop using and function at all. So when I was put on it, it gave me a little piece of sanity to be able to take my psych meds, to be able to start processing. And what it does is it allowed me to see a more stable type of life, and then eventually you wean off of it, and then you ease into society. That was for me. That's what that. And now some people it doesn't work for. And I'm not talking about where they give you 400 milligrams of methadone and you're zonked out. And I do think that the government and the politicized. It's a big moneymaker. It is a big moneymaker. but it is also, if you use it properly, with other, what do you call it, community, you know, and other doctors and people in your life and support. It's better than standing on Kensington Avenue getting taken over by 4 dudes who are carrying you away and having their way with you because you're zonked out from the dude.
Right.
I've seen it happen. You know,
Right.
it's better than I would say it was better than burying my kid because she couldn't even get clean off of maintenance. You know,
Right.
and maybe seeing a semblance of life. You know,
Yeah.
so that's I'm for it if
Yeah.
it's used correctly.
What about the recovery program itself? You know, some people are even scared to go into an NA meeting or an AA meeting. What do we say to those people that need that little extra push?
We say keep coming back. You know, it actually depends on who you are, right? So I've always been open to people who have been on maintenance because I was one of them, you know. And I have a sponsor who said, listen, it's not the way that I got clean, but it's your way, and I'll help you. I'll support you, you know. So there have been some changes being made, you know, in the program. And I think some of us are a little more compassionate and understanding, and some aren't. And what you do is you when I see somebody on that, I gravitate and I pull in with the people who are supportive,
Right.
you know, and give them the love that they need to eventually, if they can get clean off of it, they do.
Right.
You know, and then we kind of just like keep them in our circle, you know, and say, listen, this is what works for you. You know what I mean? Everybody's individual, because those same people who might say that maintenance is wrong, they're 400 pounds. And what are they doing in their recovery? You know what I mean? Like, are they really working the program in all areas of their lives?
Right.
You know what I mean? Or are they gambling? Are they working in all areas of their lives? Are they sexing? Are they like, who are they to say, hey, don't take this to help you get a little more stable in your head when their life is unmanageable in other areas?
Not to make light of what we're talking about, but you know, I have some friends that are in recovery, and I always tell them, stop smoking cigarettes.
Oh yeah, that too.
And stop drinking the Red Bulls.
That too.
I see a lot of the young kids, Red Bull, cigarettes.
Smoking,
Like,
yeah,
oh
it's
my
huge
gosh,
addiction.
man,
They say
you know?
smoking is harder than drugs.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. And even sugar, because I was watching a
sugar's
special.
one,
Out of 44 rats, 41 of them preferred the sugar water to the cocaine.
Really?
Yeah.
Sugar is it is a big drug. We don't even realize it, man. Salt, sugar, and all that. So you guys are, I'm gonna call you like kind of like the seniors. No,
We are.
6 years in is more than a half a decade.
Oh, I thought you meant
No,
age-wise.
age-wise. No. I'm talking about in recovery. You know,
Still early. It's
Yeah,
still,
it's still-
in the scheme of things, it's still so early.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
early, but
Because Steve just said, like, in the very beginning, you know, he didn't like, I talk about like, do you remember saying this to me? And that to me is like, Donna, I was so messed up. Like, I can honestly say that we're both really just like getting our feet on the ground.
Okay.
I think anyway, for me anyway.
Well, me looking at you, thinking 6 years. Obviously, I don't live with you guys. I don't see the day to day.
It's
But
good.
You guys have a lot of knowledge and things that you could pass on to other people. Is that something that you participate in now, or something that you have aspirations of helping other people in the community?
Well, that's basically what I do. I think she does the same thing. You know, she has a different, like, her girlfriends, and sometimes she goes to different fellowships. So there are people to help. You know, like someone new in the room. You have to make them feel comfortable. That's the guy. If you don't give him a hug and say how you doing and talk to him, he might say, well, they don't accept me. Because when you do walk in the room, you're not feeling great. You're feeling like a piece of crap.
Right.
And you want someone to make you feel like you're welcome. So you have to make that newcomer, that's what we call them, feel like they're welcome. And if they see something that's attractive, they wind up staying, and it's, you know, buying into, well, here's a place for me to go and I can make some new friends and do some things different. So that's the important thing, and I've been doing that. It was done to me, and I still do it to this day.
Right.
That's why I go to different meetings. That's why I'll travel across the river in New Jersey, or go to Morrisville or go up to Delaware County, or even conventions.
Right.
Like we're going to a convention at the end of this month. We went to the World Convention, and you meet new people. I just came back from Arizona, as you know. I saw people on Zoom meetings, and you said earlier, it's better when we're sitting here and we're conversing amongst, we could see each other on Zoom, but there's nothing like sitting in the room and we see each other, and it's more personable. And I think you can have a better friendship with somebody if you see them all the time. And that's what I try to do. And as simple as like getting on my phone in the morning and people I see and shooting out a text message, good morning, have a great day. And the same thing happens to me. I have like 20, 30 people I do that with on a daily basis. So it not only helps me, it helps them. I go, someone's even saying hello to me, because when we're out there using the stuff that you do are not the very spiritual things.
His phone rings all day long. From the time he wakes up, he has people calling in. He's not a phone person. But you're becoming one, and he listens a lot. His phone rings, and he's always driving people to meetings, and people are always, because he's a good speaker, he has a great message. People are always saying, can you come speak here? Can you come speak there? And he puts his recovery before anything.
And that's being in service and giving back.
He said to me last week, or like a month ago, I'm putting my recovery first and working on my recovery. Like that comes first, because I'm all about the fun. I'm a child. I want to always be, if I'm off from work, I want to be here. I want to be there. I want to be doing something. And I said to myself, well, damn, if he's putting his recovery first, what the heck am I doing? Because he's in it. Now I'm in it, but he's like, both feet. Where I'm in it, but he just, and to be honest, I work, and he's retired, so he gets to do more of that. But and that helps me too when you're in a relationship with somebody, to stay connected and grounded in myself. Like he said, I have friends in AA. I have a group of women. AA calls it the herd. So we stay in the herd, so we stay safe together. We go to dinner on Friday night, then we go to a meeting. And NA is my home, but I go to AA too, because we came from AA, so the steps. So to me, it's no difference. The language is a little different, and he asked me what I speak about when I'm there. I speak about living on life terms, dealing with my daughter, dealing with, setting boundaries, dealing with not saying too much that I don't want to say. I was really nasty to her, and I said some truth to her that she didn't like. But I was told, listen, you could have said it in a more loving, caring way. You didn't have to be your father, how he spoke to you,
That's a learning thing for all humans, We all have to learn. It doesn't matter if you're...
Especially when you feel like, you're you at 18 years old, and your dad's trying to give you advice, and you're trying to give it to your kid, and they're like, but I need to make my own mistakes. You want to just like grab your 18-year-old self and smack yourself and go, you could have avoided all this, but... Definitely. I had to make my own mistakes.
Exactly.
Unfortunately.
I still think this is a good idea for you to do recovery fit. And I'm thinking, don't even have to be about money, and for those that don't know my idea, I don't really want to say it because somebody's going to steal it.
Don't say that.
No. I think that, we should go around to the meetings and everything, and see if people want to just work out. They don't have to work out at the meetings, but maybe we can have a group of people that come together and have workouts together that are in that community, and call it Recovery Fit. You guys are doing it on your own already. Why not just build a community around, staying healthy and doing it that way? Does that sound like a good idea?
No, that's an excellent idea, because
Steve turned me down.
It is a good idea, but their traditions in the program. They said they don't want press, radio, films, or outside enterprise coming in, because at that point it can change maybe the way they do things. That's what they worry about. I could see that. That's why you got to be careful how you even say that, if you can even promote that. So it's.
What if it was something that you built that was separate, but people knew that you could get a sober workout?
If there's a way to do it, I think it would be a great idea.
We already have, I don't know how many people that are in recovery that come to my gym. I think that it's just my opinion, and I'm on the outside. I don't really know the culture as much. That if people knew that there was a place that they could come and it would, be healthy for them, they could be around like-minded people. It's the whole reason why I have a women's boxing class to start with, because they don't want to be around the guys.
Right.
They want to be amongst themselves.
They feel more comfortable.
Well, the other piece of that is a lot of people already go to their own gyms, and their own workouts, so they have
I'm
their own
trying
spots.
to get the people that don't.
Oh, okay, I understand
the people
that.
that just need to be like. I don't care if they just come in here and just look at us.
Right.
That's the kind of people that I don't.
And here's the attraction. Like you said, there are people in recovery here. My friend Hagap.
Yeah.
I knew he was into some sort of fighting prior to me meeting him, but I told him I was coming here.
Yeah.
Or there's a few people, John, who knew
exactly.
either from him or myself.
Yeah.
So we talk about it. When we're sharing our experiences, what are we doing? And we're sharing the good, the positive.
Right.
And then someone says, I'd like to try that. Maybe they want to become a fighter.
Yeah.
Maybe they just want to get in shape. So people do walk in
So the
here.
community is already.
Yeah, they know, and it's but it's not like how, the experience. It's my experience of what I'm doing now. But if someone else hears it, said, "Where is that?" Even a woman,
Right.
I'd like to try that.
Definitely.
They might come down, or maybe they walked in and popped their head in the door.
Yeah.
So I don't know the way you want to promote might be a different avenue.
Well, just on my mind, I just would want to direct people, into a healthier lifestyle. But
I'm sure there's a way to.
I'm
sure there's a way to do it.
Yeah, I just want to be like, hey guys, I'm right here if you want to come and get some help. But the word of mouth, that's how I started this business to start with.
Yeah.
Well, they say that I can remember being in the rehab and people coming in like for yoga or like workout, and at that point, that was like too early. Where like, your mind and your body just doesn't connect, and
Right.
like you can't even lift your arm because you're like, But I can see it being if we would go into like after people have already been through the detox and a rehab, and maybe doing it that way.
Yeah.
And incorporating that into their mental health,
Right.
because a lot of addiction is about mental health. Because I can remember them saying, "Well, are you mentally ill? Or are you an addict?" And I didn't know. You have to get your mental health correct first, and then it's easier to put down the drug because your mental health is focused better.
Right.
So something like that, I think, would be another spin on it.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I'll just let Steve keep bringing me new clients.
And he does.
He does.
I tell him, it's,
And I said I was going to get certified a couple times, but I just never did it.
Our old friend, though, we call him Puddles.
Joe.
Joe. He really started it off.
Yeah, he did.
He's the one who brought Steve in.
Yeah.
And Steve
I remember.
Somebody, and,
Yeah.
And he actually had me at Good Friends. I spoke and told my story about my parents and how I had to live and everything like that. So ever since that, and he must have been here when I was open for about 2 months, or 3 months, and then you came soon after. But ever since that, I always thought, like in my mind, I'm going to make this a place for people to come and feel safe and be able to work out, be able to talk like we're talking and share. And what it has done for me is helped me realize that we're all people. I knew that already, but it's not really the substance that it is the substance, but people are more than the substance. Is pretty much what I'm trying to
100%.
say. And you guys are a testament. 6 years clean, which
Almost.
almost. No, you're well. Yeah, I guess you have to say almost, but to me, you're like.
Can't cop early is what they say.
Right. We're at the end of the episode. But
Oh,
what
I had a
do-
question for you.
Oh,
though.
go ahead. Yeah.
So, speaking with us and speaking with other people, how has it helped you with your I don't even know your situation or your
for
background,
me,
but your family.
I'll say, both of my parents were addicted to crack cocaine when I was growing up. my dad obviously was functioning. He was a world champion still.
How does that happen?
When I was that age, I didn't realize really what was going on until his career started to dwindle and he started to fight just for money. But when you're an athlete, you learn how to not do it while you have to perform when you train, and then once you get that time off, you binge. Which is how it happens until that binge turns into a month,
Nightmare.
and that month turns into 3 months, and then you got your manager calling your house saying, "Hey, you got to train," or calling you, "Oh, we had a fight for 250,000, but you're not ready to take it." So those are the kind of things that I went through when I was growing up. Me and my sisters, my dad raised us by himself. When I turned 13, my mom had left, and it was all due to drugs. So I had already in my mind, I was like, I'm not going to do, that. I've had some really bad experiences. I'm over here starting from scratch because my parents behaved the way that they behaved. And now that I'm 37, I look back and I'm like, man, what my dad was doing when he was 37 is totally different than what I'm doing. So talking to people, it does help me because it makes me remember everything that I've been through, and how not to be that way, and it also helps me be like kind of like a therapist as well. Like I can help people with their problems. So having gone through things myself, having talking to people, it's therapy for me, and I can be helpful to others. And it also helps me have a respect. Somebody that hasn't gone through it, they might look down on someone that has a drug addiction. They might look down at that person that's on the corner talking to herself, not really understanding that there's something much deeper. So opening this gym, working with people that are in recovery has been a good experience, educational wise, spiritually, and it gives me motivation to do things for that community. We had NA meetings here.
We did, yeah.
I
was so excited with that. I'm sad that it didn't flourish, but so is it.
It happens, I'm not really. I'm a businessman. I'm allowed to post, and I'm allowed to go on Google and use those tools. It's really a hard avenue, but I understand also why you can't advertise. But it's a hard avenue when you're working on word of mouth. Word of mouth things take triple the time that it takes for someone that can just be out there talking about it. But look what we're doing. We're right here now. When this goes out, it'll be just like another meeting for some people. Hopefully the right person sees it and they'll look at you two and be like, they got 6 years, they talked about all these things and I can do it now. They gave me the motivation. But what I was gonna say is this is the point of the show where I let my guests say something to the world, no matter what it is. It doesn't even have to be recovery related. It just has to be your message to the people. I'm gonna let Steve go first and let you think about what you want to say.
Thank you.
I think this is a great interview, and it's with three of us sitting here. At least we could think back, because if we forget where we came from, it's destined to happen again. You forget the pain that we're in when we were younger or when we were in active addiction. So it's a reminder for me. I don't want to go back that way. So great show. And the last thing I'll say, when I get up and I speak today, I tell the truth. I don't add to the truth, because when you add to the truth, you subtract from the truth. And I'll end with that.
Okay.
I think I want to reveal that when I came in, I didn't know that it was on video. And when I saw it was on video, of course, I wanted to have my hair done and some nice clothes on.
And we've seen you with your hair done and nice clothes on. You clean up very well.
But revealing ourselves is very therapeutic.
Definitely.
And self-acceptance is something that I struggle with. And so part of me was going to say, like, let's wait, you know, but part of recovery is doing things that are uncomfortable. And I struggle with body image and self-esteem, as a lot of addicts do suffer with self-esteem. And I'm really grateful that I was able to accept who I am. And so the message is, I think, that, you know, self-acceptance, self-love, and self-care is very huge for addicts. You know, I have a lot of friends that tell me self-love, self-care, meaning, you know, eating healthy, working out, don't take drugs, you know, be spiritual, pray to God, you know, and I find that when I'm kinder to myself, I can be kinder to others.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's my message.
Nice.
Yeah.
What we'll have to do is we'll give you another chance, but I would like for you to bring on your daughters if you can.
I will.
Because I feel like me and your daughters can have a lot to relate about when it comes to recovery and drug addiction as well.
For sure.
Maybe all of us can sit down at the table and we can all talk. I think that would be a great episode, and then we can make sure you know that it's on video, so you can get your movie star face.
Thanks for having us
No
on.
problem.
Thank you very much. Pleasure.
So that's the Young Black Suburban. If you liked our episode today, please like, share, and subscribe.